Our lesson today is setting up and solving break-even linear systems. Before spring break, you had an investigation where you had to figure out exactly how many t-shirts did you have to sell to break even. So to begin with, you have to know, what does it mean to break even? Well, in a business, breaking even means that you're not going to gain any money, but you're also not going to lose any money. Well, this is important when it comes to a business plan, because you need to know exactly how many shirts you have to make and sell to be able to pay off any debt, to be able to pay off any loan that you've made. But also at the same time, you want to be able to make a profit. So that point, that number is important because you need to know everything is determined based off of that number. So in the investigation, you walked through and there were several questions you had to answer. And the first thing you had to do was complete a table that had to do with the expenses. So in this problem, you had to identify what your expenses were. So in this situation, you're going to pay $400 to rent the booth and $5 for each blank t-shirt. So the cost to produce the shirts, the expenses was $400 plus $5 for every t-shirt that you purchased. Now, we use this information to calculate what it would cost you if, let's say, that I sold 10 t-shirts, if I made and sold 10 t-shirts. So if you make 10 t-shirts and you sell them, or not sell them, but just make 10 t-shirts, it's going to cost you $450. Okay, well, what happens if I make 20 t-shirts? So if I make 20 t-shirts and I sell them, it's going to cost me $500. What about 30 t-shirts? 30 t-shirts is going to cost me $550. So you play around with these numbers. Well, what if I make and sell 100? So if I buy 100 shirts and sell them at $5 a piece, and then $400 to rent the booth, then it's going to cost me $900. Okay, well, that's part of the plan, but then you're also going to sell these shirts for a certain amount. So I call that take home. So my take home amount, if on that day I make and sell all 10 of my t-shirts, then I'm going to take home, well, I'm selling them for $17 a piece. So 17 times 10 is 170. Well, the only way I'm going to know if I break even is if I look at these two numbers. So the fact that it costs me more than what it does to make and sell, that's not good. So in this first situation, if all I make and sell is 10 t-shirts, then I am going to lose $280. So you figure this out for each of these numbers. 20 would be $340. 30 would be $510. 100 would be $1,700. And you compare the numbers. So at 20 shirts, it's going to cost me more than I'm going to bring home. So I'm still going to lose money. Okay? At 550 shirts, it's still going to cost me more than I'm going to sell. I'm losing $40. But at 100 shirts, I'm going to make a lot more money than what my expenses were. I'm going to gain $800. So your break even is going to be a number that's going to fall between 30 and 100. How many shirts do you have to make and sell to break even, to gain no money and to lose no money? In other words, how many shirts do you have to make and sell for your take home to equal your expenses? Well, in the investigation, to justify what that number was, you could set up equations. So the equation to model the income earned is $17 times your number of t-shirts. And we're going to let X equal our number of t-shirts. But then you also need to look at the equation that models the cost or your expenses. So we're going to say this one is take home. And this one is my expenses. Well, your expenses is the $400 to rent the booth plus the $5 for each t-shirt that you buy. So 400 plus 5x. So how can I figure out that exact number of t-shirts, the exact number that falls between 30 and 100, so that I'm not having to guess and check? Well, if you take your take home and you set it equal to your expenses, you'll be able to find that magic number. You set your two equations equal to each other. So 17x has to equal the 400 plus the 5x. And now if I solve for x, I can figure out what that number is. So subtract the 5x from the 17x. So then I get 12x equals 400. Divide both sides by 12. 400 divided by 12 leaves me with 33 and a third. Oops. So you have to make and sell 33 and a third t-shirts to break even. Now, that would be nice, except you can't have a fraction of a shirt. So what happens if we only make and sell 33 t-shirts? Well, if all I make is 33 t-shirts and I sell them for $17 a piece, then that's going to be $561 is what I would bring home. But the cost to make and sell is going to be $565. So in this situation, I'm going to lose $4. We don't want to lose anything. If anything, we want to be able to have some extra money. So what if I let X equal 34? So if I make and sell 34 t-shirts, then I'm going to bring home $578. But if and it's going to cost me $570. So even though they're not equal to each other, on this one I'm going to gain $8. So we're not losing any money. The exact break-even mark is 33 and a third, but we can't have a fraction of a shirt. So how many t-shirts must you make to break even? 34. 34 t-shirts to break even. So watch the other videos. You've got a couple more examples on break-even linear systems, how to set them up and how to solve them.